I'm a cynical gamer when it comes to games as a service, and when something is online only, made by a small developer, targeting a niche audience, purchasing that game and then going through with that transaction and wanting to become part of that community raises an awful lot of red flags to me when the game itself is a shell promising content later on down the line. And nowhere has that been more exemplified as a business model for me than with Drive-By, a new game that's come out from Glitches, which seems to have put out a really great idea full of style but lacking any substance behind that style that it's come out with. It's hoping that through season on season it can add more content to the game, but you're trading on a promise that that content will come, and from what's here at the moment, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it as an experience. So let's dive into what Drive-By is actually about and what it does. Drive-By takes the car combat from Twisted Metal, zhuzhes it up like it's in a neon-clad Rocket League game, and then sprinkles in some kind of gameplay modes that you might get from Mario Kart or perhaps something like Vigilante 8. And it puts it in a blender, and that's what Drive-By is created as. It looks great. It feels great actually to play from the handling perspective, but what it's seriously lacking is game modes. When you initially boot up Drive-By, it asks you to sign up for an email account and it puts you into an online only mode. You can play in single player with AI, but you still need to be online and connected, and that's because everything that you do earns you XP to level you up through the different seasons. As you level up through playing matches, winning them, doing consecutive matches online, it will then give you XP that unlocks new customization, either colours for different cars, new characters, although all the characters' cars all handle exactly the same, so it's just a style of car that you're unlocking, not really like traits. You can unlock trails for the background from your exhaust. You can unlock different emojis that you can then map to your D-pad and kind of emote when you've been killed by a missile or something like that. Then when you hit the actual server mode itself, you can then play up to 3 different players, because every mode is a 4-player mode, and what's not been filled up by real humans gets filled up with bots instead. You then drop into one of 3 different areas or maps, but they all feel nigh on identical. One is a big city, well, I'd say big, a medium city, because there's only a few different roads that you can go down. One then takes out the central place and puts 2 bridges on, which means that you're always confronted with people smashing into each other on those bridges, which is quite good fun. And the third one includes a warehouse where you can kind of hide because it's not on the map. But the problem is that everyone does it once you've discovered that, which only takes about 30 seconds to discover. So you all end up in the warehouse, then you're like, oh, you're here too. Fancy a copper? The game modes themselves, and there's only 3 of them, are also quite similar and actually a bit disengaging, I must admit as well. The best one by far is Piggy Bank. Essentially, there's a piggy bank in the middle of the map. First one to get it collects it, and then you'll use all of your weapons such as missiles, mines, ice rays, electric kind of EMP pulses to stop that piggy bank driver get away with it, and then when you smash their car, you pick up the piggy bank and continue on. It constantly adds coins to your score, and the first one to 1,000 wins. Mode 2 is just a car combat game, really. You've got all of these different weapons, and some of them might just stun the player, but some of them kill them. And there's piles of money kind of dotted around initially at the beginning of the mode. Then you've got 4 minutes basically to try and go around collecting power-ups. Some of them eventually will let you kill some of the opponents, and when they do, they'll drop a portion of their money, and you've got to try and run and collect it. The problem with this mode is that a lot of the weapons that come up are just ones that kind of sting you, don't necessarily kill you, and nothing happens when you just get stung. It's not as if you can then ram the car and be like, ha, killed you, and steal some of the money. Nothing happens. And so half of that mode just feels like you're driving around hoping that you then pick up the right power-up from the randomised power-up spawners. The third and final mode is kind of an in-betweeny, and this is around delivering parcels from cardboard boxes in the centre of the map. You can pick up to 30 of them, and then it will randomly dot you NPCs around to drop those boxes off. It's a bit like a weird time trial mode, because all 4 of you are doing it, but you do have the options to pick up power-ups at the same time and launch those missiles or EMP pulses to slow down other people as you go along. Both of those last 2 modes feel slightly disengaging, with the time trial delivery one feeling almost like you're on your own for 4 minutes, just driving around, picking up boxes and going elsewhere. Because there's times where you can actually just not see anyone forever. So really, Piggy Bank is the only one that holds weight for multiple plays. The other 2 can fall away, and you can see the online voting where I've played with human players has already gone down that route as well. And that's it. That's all that Drive-By's got to offer. It seriously needs variations of maps, and it desperately needs variations on modes. And all that it's promising in future seasons is one new map. It needs more modes more than maps, if I'm perfectly honest. And it needs some way to try and engage the player in so that you're actually having to deal with all of the other players. Because what I was finding was that the other players sometimes disappear and you just don't see them for a little while. And then they kind of all appear together and no one's necessarily following each other. It's a bit of a mess. And so maybe like point-to-point racing around the map would be good. Actually picking up and doing deliveries, maybe 2 versus 2 for something like that would be really good as well. Or trying to like play hide and seek. There's loads of different varieties in this game environment that you could play out on. And that could just make this game so much more enjoyable, engaging, and less of a risk. Because what I feel is that after I'd played this for half an hour, I'd seen everything, I'd played it multiple times, and I wasn't that engaged. And so would I come back if season 2 comes along? Probably not. Would I want to grind out for all of those extra different colours of smoke coming out the back of my car in the season pass? No. Would I want to grind and unlock other characters that are just different car shapes but don't handle or play any different? No. And so immediately, because it's a shell of a game, not a fully fledged offering from the beginning, it's not engaged me, so therefore my player base will drop, which then means no one will come back for season 2, and then they'll say, oh, we've really enjoyed our time with Drive-By and we're going to now close it up because unfortunately it's not sustainable as a game. I feel like it would be sustainable as a game if you gave it another 6 months of development and stuck those game modes in as standard from the offset, gave us an offline mode to muck about with, instead of trying to haul people in to this constant treadmill of games of a service that's not going to work for something as niche as this. I feel like I've been a bit soapboxy, but I'm quite passionate about this because, and especially with something like Drive-By, because actually the fundamentals are in place. It works well, it looks great, it handles well. The boost is stupid because every 5 seconds you get a new one, and so you can just blast around the maps like silly. And it's fun, and like a local multiplayer option is tagged on the game, but it's not here. You have to be all online together. It doesn't divide anything up anywhere into like split screen, and that's screaming for this game to be an absolute class act to be. It's gone down the wrong business model for me, and it's going to suffer as a result, and so I can't recommend it in its current form. Maybe if it lasts a few seasons and gets these game modes in, there's actually fundamentally a really good game that can be made here, but just not in its current state. I would not recommend it at all, I'm afraid. A written review of its current form on launch is over on higherplanegames.com. Where it will go from here, who only knows? I just hope that it's not empty promises going forward. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/higherplane-network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.